I've always had a bit of a complicated relationship with money. I think mainly due to environmental factors and societal expectations. I come from London in the UK, and I do believe there is a hustle culture in the UK, and that money is given importance, and you almost feel like you never have enough. But then I moved to Italy, and over time, that entire mindset that I had around money slowly unraveled. This isn't a video about budgeting tips or cost of living. This is about something deeper. How a culture can change your entire relationship with money, value, and what it actually means to live well. The first thing that Italy has really taught me about money is that time is actually the greatest currency. Now, I moved here from London believing that money was super important. Now, I wouldn't say I've always been the best with money. I've had money in the past. I've spent money in the past. I've not always been very good at saving that money or budgeting correctly. I've learned a lot of hard lessons along the way, particularly through running my business, because if ever you want an education in money, start a business. It will definitely highlight any kind of blocks and limiting beliefs that you have around it. But moving here to Italy, I started to see things differently. I saw that here in South Italy especially, shops and businesses would close for a couple of hours in the afternoon and reopen usually around 4:30, 5 o'clock. And although they would stay open later to like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, I couldn't help but think there was a huge missed opportunity with those couple of hours in the afternoon for a company or business to make money. And then I realised that actually it is because people here place a higher value on time than on money. Because you see, those couple of hours where certain shops and businesses will close, those hours are dedicated for people to enjoy their lunch, to have time for themselves, or to spend it with other people. It's considered important that you stop working in those hours and actually enjoy your food and have a bit of downtime. It's not normal that people here will eat lunch and work through lunch at the same time. Like, there is a divide. Now, it's not to say that this is the same for every company. Some companies do kind of encourage this philosophy for sure. But certainly what I've witnessed here in South Italy, I've definitely noticed that there is great importance placed on time. People value the time that they spend with people, whether it be friends or family. People value just being in the present moment and not necessarily having to always be doing something. Time for me has become something that I realise is a very important commodity. It could be argued that money can buy time in the sense that it allows you more freedom to do the things that you want to do, and maybe allows you to pay for services or for people to come and do the things that you don't like doing to save you more time. However, I actually think that you cannot buy time, because even with money, you cannot recuperate those hours that you spent working consistently. You cannot create extra hours in your day beyond the 24 that we are all given. And so I do believe in a way that there is a greater importance placed on enjoying the time that we have here in Italy. And it's not always about running. It's not always about the next thing that you have to work towards, because people realize that, you know, working hard like that is a wonderful thing and will take you to many great places, but it will also involve many sacrifices along the way. And for some people, they don't want to have to sacrifice the time spent with loved ones in order to achieve a greater position at work or to achieve more financial success. For some people, time is more valuable than money itself. And this has been a really big shift and something that has changed my mindset around money, in the sense that I view money as the means to be able to do more things and follow my passions. But I also realize that time is perhaps the greatest blessing that we could all have. And it's how we use that time and what we do in that time that creates that particular value. The second lesson that Italy has really taught me about money is you don't have to have lots of stuff. Now, when I lived in the UK, I would buy a lot of stuff. I would buy technology items, I would buy lots of clothes and accessories. But since moving here to Italy, my spending habits have completely changed. I don't really buy a lot of clothes. I've become a lot more sustainable in that sense. Now, when I buy something like technology related or something to do with my YouTube channel, I invest in quality, because I've really come to learn that you can have lots of stuff, but it's not necessarily going to be the best quality stuff. And so as a result, it's not necessarily going to last as long as you would have hoped. I think living here as well has made me less of a consumer. So I think, social media, online shops, they make you want to buy. It's all about get the next best thing. There's this waiting to buy, there's this sale, there's this offer. But living here in Italy, I kind of feel that I'm more selective about the things that I buy. And I'm also not as easily led or swayed by advertising as I may have been back in the UK. I see things differently now. I realise that less is definitely more. And I also realise that quality trumps quantity any day of the week. And I've spoken about that recently with my example with us moving and the fact that we went cheap and we invested in a poor quality kitchen and now we have to reinvest in a new one. That is an example of how quality really is the most important thing of all. And so I buy less things now, but I buy quality things. And so substance is key here. It's not about how many pairs of shoes that you own. It's about the quality of those shoes. It's not about how many technological pieces that you have in your house. It's about the quality of those pieces. And so I've definitely become more discerning about what I buy and when I buy it. And I think that has meant that I am wiser with the financial purchases that I make here. And Italy has really helped me to achieve that kind of mindset. Another thing that Italy has taught me about money is that it's helped me to redefine what it's worth spending money on. Now, something that I noticed living here in the south of Italy is that people here don't have endless amounts of cash. They really work with the bare minimum. People here in South Italy don't have necessarily fantastic salaries. You might have the odd profession that pays well, but generally speaking, the salaries here in the south especially are very low. And so people don't have, lots of extra cash to play with at the end of the month. But it's interesting to see how people choose where they place their value with the money that they spend. So people here who don't have a lot of money will always make sure they have a cupboard stocked with food. For them, even if they don't go and buy the latest piece of technology or a new jumper, for example, they will place their money on filling their fridges and cupboards with food. Because food here in Italy is of great value and importance to people. And yes, it is anywhere around the world. We all need to eat as humans. But I promise you, when you've spent enough time living here in Italy, you realise just how much this country values food. The fact that businesses close for a couple of hours in the afternoon so people can enjoy their lunch proves this. And I think it's really, really interesting because I didn't used to have this mindset before. I had the reverse mindset. I would place more value on objects and belongings than I would on food. My diet was really messy and just not nice in the UK at all as a result. But here I realised that if I don't have a lot of money one month, the important thing for me is that I have really good food that I can eat. And so my mind has completely shifted where I place my value. It's also the same when it comes to big celebrations. So I've never been able to wrap my head around where people suddenly come up with all of this money for birthdays, weddings, first communions, christenings. Like all of a sudden people are lavishing 300, 400 euro gifts on the person whose celebration it is. And I'm sitting here thinking, but these people don't have money throughout the year. Like, where do they suddenly get all this money from? Why do they choose to spend it in this way? It's because of where they place their value. And for some people, that isn't a good use of money. Some people would argue, well, why don't they have a better quality of life throughout the year rather than spending their money in this way on like one event? But that's how it is here. People value these big celebrations. 18th birthday parties are the equivalent of a wedding celebration in terms of the festivities and things that people get up to. And, it is this, but this is this culture. They value those special moments, the time spent with friends, the time spent with family, and celebrating those milestones. And so the value is placed on that rather than on having the latest computer or the latest camera, for example. So these have been some shifts that I've had to get used to, but I actually realized that there is beauty in this. Because you see, what you can get in terms of pleasure and enjoyment from the latest computer is going to be so different to what you get from enjoying somebody's wedding or first communion, for example. What you get from owning 200 pairs of shoes is going to be very different to what you get from eating fresh, healthy food every single day. There's so much depth here, and I really appreciate where Italians place their value, and that it's not necessarily on material things, but it's on things that really have a lot of depth behind them. Italy has also taught me, when it comes to money, that success isn't what I thought it was. It's not about having all the money. It's about balance. It's something quieter. It's like time spent with family, doing the things that you love, being in the moment. I had such a warped view of success before. In fact, I speak about it in this video up here if you want to dive a bit deeper into this particular topic. But I really believed that success equaled having lots of money, but it's not the case. And when I speak to people here in Italy and I talk about success with them, a lot of the time people don't talk about money. They talk about, having a family or having a beautiful home or being with people that they love. And of course, money has to play a part in all of that. We don't live in a society where we can get by without having any money, but it's not where the focus is. It's not the first thing that leaves people's mouths. They focus more on the experience than on the money that will help them with that experience. And so I really like this kind of priority when it comes to success. I really like the fact that there is meaning behind what success is here. And it's not this superficial thing that everybody often thinks it is. And so I now believe that success is so deep here. It's not just the money, it's everything else that you can add into your life. It's having the time with the people that you love. It's enjoying the experiences that you enjoy. It's living in the moment more. It's, of course, having the money to do all of that, but it's not solely the money. And that's a really big shift that I have gone through living here in South Italy. The next thing that I've really learnt about money since living here in Italy is that peace always wins over pressure. What I mean by that is that I used to think having financial security was one of the most important things in the world. And it meant that I would constantly be striving to earn more money to give me this sense of financial security. But what I've really learned is that financial security is achievable, but it looks very different to each and every person. For some people, financial security means having a year's worth of savings in the bank as a cushion. For other people, financial security means that they can pay their bills every single month and just have a little bit extra to get by. It's a very subjective thing, but it doesn't mean that you have to burn yourself out. And that is the balance that I've arrived at now. For me now, sitting here in 2025, financial security isn't what I thought it was when I first moved here to Italy. I believe financial security is having the money to live a comfortable life, to being able to pay your bills. I've lowered these kind of standards that I'd set myself back in London about what financial security is. It's not about having endless, surplus cash in your life. It's a wonderful thing if you do, but it's not the be all and end all if you don't. Having financial security for me is that I don't have to stress about paying my bills every month, that I know that I have money to cover everything that I need, and that if I have some extra money at the end, that's a blessing. That is my new definition of financial security. And of course, I want to increase the money that I earn. Who doesn't? Let's be real. But it's not at the expense of burning myself out, which when I lived back in the UK, I was very close to burnout a number of times because I had this mentality and this mindset that, I needed to get financial security. I needed to achieve this status. But you're chasing something that you can never properly grasp because it is so subjective. And also because in a way it's kind of out of your control as well, because if the next day you don't have a job anymore or you fall ill and you're not able to work, how do you get that financial security? You're kind of chasing something that you can't really control in that way. And I think the final thing that Italy has really taught me about money is that money doesn't have any intrinsic value. We choose whether it is a good or a bad thing based on our own conditioning, our own upbringing, our own beliefs. Money is just energy. If you look at it, it's just pieces of paper and metal. But each one of us, have a different opinion about money, different blocks about money, different attitudes about money, different approaches to money. And that comes from our own individual selves. It doesn't come from money at all. And this is the really interesting thing. And I read an incredible book, The Psychology of Money. It's right here, which helped me to see how we all have such different attitudes to what money really is and beliefs about it. And it's something that in some cultures is quite taboo to talk about. For example, here in Italy, you won't find people asking each other what they earn, for example, but in other cultures, people are very open and they will say, well, how much do you earn? And I even see it on the comments on my YouTube channel, people asking about my income. And for me, it's okay, I can say, but for Italian people, they're not so open to talk about what they earn. It's not in the culture to be so kind of crude in that way. And it's this. And I think Italy keeps teaching me so many wonderful things, but my approach to money has been one of the most significant things that I have changed since living here. I've definitely downgraded my life in some ways. I had a lot more things back in the UK. I had perhaps a more abundant lifestyle, should I say, but a lot of that was based on superficiality. It wasn't based on any substance. And so now I've completely flipped everything on its head. And I realized that less definitely means more on so many different levels, and that you shouldn't chase money. And there's always that thing that if you chase something, you will continuously chase it because you will never be able to catch up with it. So sometimes you just have to stop and you have to realize that money ebbs and flows into your life. And that is what you do with that money, and it's how you view that money that really makes a big difference to your experience. If you've enjoyed this video, I think you'll enjoy this one right here because I dive a bit deeper into how Italy, in a way, shattered my idea of what abundance really was. I will see you in the next video.